Seen from the tight ends group?
I think we've got an interesting group because we've got four guys who have played some football, have some experience, and then we've got another group who really hasn't played at all. And then there's also, even with a group that has experience, there was so much of it last year was the main two guys playing, and now with one of those guys being gone, who's going to fill that role? And you got a couple of guys who played a little bit there, but not a lot. So even though we have some older guys, we don't have all that much experience, actual playing experience. I think they're eager and willing. It's hard for me to say too much in the first 2 days because it's kind of pretend football. Before you put the pads on, it doesn't really do too much for me one way or the other. But I think we've got a good group, and we'll have an opportunity for 2 or 3 of those guys to make a major impact on our team.
I know it's pretend football, but what have you seen from Deshaun Haneke?
Very, very willing, very passionate about the game, wants to be great, wants to be coached. Really one of those guys that, he's just so driven that sometimes he can be maybe a little bit hard on himself, and it's harder on him than anybody else so far because he's learning a new system, but he's gonna do fine.
In these first couple of days, what are the things you're emphasizing with the guys as you go through some of the stuff?
Yeah, first thing that we've been talking about was just playing fast. You can't emphasize the physical piece of the game too much without pads on, but our play speed is something that we'd like to always show up when we watch film, whether it's offensive line running off the football, playing with the mindset that sets the stage for the rest of our guys, or a receiver running a route, or a quarterback carrying out a fake. That play speed is something we've been emphasizing a lot. And the other thing I've started talking about, and it was really my point with the unit meeting today, was to play fearless and just go out there and be willing to throw the ball deep and go make a play on the ball when it's your opportunity. And I can be kind of demanding, but at the same time I want them to recognize that if they're playing hard, then my job as a coach is to help them get better. And I don't want them to feel like if they make a mistake or they drop a pass that they're going to lose their opportunities. And so I'm trying to help some of the guys get beyond a feeling that, and this again mainly from some of the guys that might not have played as much, but that feeling that the natural anxiety that comes with knowing that you need to perform in order to enhance your position on the squad.
So that fear is of you, not of making a mistake or other players, but it's don't be afraid of us and your place on this team and all that stuff. Is that right? Am I reading that right?
I think for me, what I'm trying to get them to the point is don't be afraid to be willing to put yourself out there and do everything you can to make a play. Don't play cautious. Don't play not to lose. Let's play to win. So an example would be if I'm an offensive lineman and I'm taking a pass set on a defensive end. There are 2 ways to set that guy. One is with aggression and speed and quickness. The other is with caution and hesitation. And when you play not to get beat, that's often when you do get beat. Your mind is focused on the negatives instead of the positives, and you're not attacking him. Another example might be quarterback's got a high-low read that he's working a play action from top down, and he's got a home run post down the middle of the field, and then he's got some layers to the concept underneath it. And if it's got a shot, I want him to give it a shot. I don't want him to be afraid to make that throw, even if it looks like it might be a little challenging. If I need to dial it back, I can dial them back. Or a receiver trying to make a play on the ball. Am I really trying to make a play with my hands, which enhances my ability to run and catch, versus trying to trap a ball and play it safe? So those are really the things I'm talking about. Just playing to win, being your best version of yourself. When you're that, then we'll all be really good. When I'm doing something less than that because I'm afraid of making a mistake or getting beat, then we'll never see that best version.
Great. Along those same lines, when you come into a new situation like this, and I know you've had time to talk personnel and watch tape and kind of get a feel for who you have, but when you get to see them in this setting for the first time, what are you looking for physically and from various units and players and things like that? Is there something that you want to see that jumps out to you to show this is what I've got?
Well, when you have such an experienced team coming back, I think you can look on film and see what a lot of those guys have already done. And so I think the next piece for me is, who are the next guys? Who are the guys underneath them that would need to be developed? And then, kind of like I was talking about with the tight ends earlier, who's going to step into that void that Mason left? Who's going to step into the voids that Pooney and Whiskey left? I think the offensive line is probably I don't mean this in a negative at all. It's the biggest question mark, and I don't say that in the mode that I think they're not good. I think there's just more unknown about them at this point.
Are you starting to see some of those second layers and those guys standing out and showing what you want to see?
Yes, but it's only been 2 days,
right.
and again, it's pretend football.
What do you hope to be known about the offensive line then by the time spring's over?
Well, his question started with personnel, and so obviously you want to know who your top 8 guys are going to be probably. You don't necessarily always need to know who your 2 deep are going to be, and you almost never really play 10 guys anyway. You play 8. You got somebody who can be your backup center. You got somebody who's a backup interior guy, somebody who's a swing tackle, and so that top 8, and then who are the first 5, and then the other thing would be, are they going to have the toughness and aggression and mindset that would be the tip of the spear for our offense? I hope so, and I think they're capable of that. Time will tell.
These last couple of years have been pretty good here, especially by KU standards. Have you been pleased with the open mind of having new face in here and you taking over?
They've been awesome. Yeah, they've been great from day one. Players, staff, everybody's been really, really open, and I think it helps that Lance and I have a familiarity. Andy and I have a friendship and have known each other for a while, and Andy and I have similar views on offense, and so yeah, it's been pretty seamless.
Curious, what's been your first impression of Isaiah Marshall?
Really talented. Been held up a little in the off season and still not quite full speed with a hamstring. And so your first thought is, well, we don't really get to see his speed or his athleticism. But if you got a hamstring that's a little tight or a little weak, it impacts everything. Your ability to drive the ball and move around in the pocket and just feel like yourself. And then second, this is a really cool and fun offense for a quarterback, but it's about as challenging as you could ever find for a young guy to come in and learn in a short amount of time. And so I think it's also unfair at this point to say how good he could be, because so much of what he's doing right now is thinking. When I see him in positions where he doesn't have to think as much, or he's confident in what he's doing, he's got the things you're looking for.
Coaches, what's Graydon doing this spring? Is he looking forward to making the move?
Yeah, he's in pretend high school right now. We're in pretend football. He's in his last semester of high school, and so he's just trying to get his classes over with, but really he's just kind of lifting and eating anytime he's not in school, and so he's getting big. He's up to about 260 pounds, and his work ethic has really impressed me. Yeah.
Gildersleeve talked about having the 8 weeks of off season, was maybe a little bit longer than he's had a lot of times. What did you see from that and his approach and work with these guys to have them ready for what you're doing right now?
That's a good question. First off, I really like what Sleeve does. I think he's in some ways sort of a new age strength coach. He looks, not just because he's young, because I've known young guys who are old school in their approach, but the way he approaches it is unique, and I appreciate that. And really, it's not any different than a football coach. I mean, some of us could be stuck with what we did back in the 80s or 90s or whenever we started coaching, just because that's the way we've always done it and what we like. But most of us evolve and move forward, and if you don't, then you typically don't have a job in this profession for a very long time. For some reason, it feels like some strength coaches might still be stuck a little bit. Maybe because they live in dungeons opposed to their waking hours. I don't know. But I really like his approach. He's really smart. The players really, really like him and respect him. And does some things that I think are really, really good. And something that might be overlooked often is that he's not just getting our guys bigger, faster, stronger, but he's really building our culture, building the mindset of the team. And I've talked to more than one player who said it was really Sleeve that helped me get through that hard time.
Obviously, Shane is new, and Jalen limited during spring. Like, for the quarterback-center relationship, are you planning on doing stuff under center? I know that's something you've done in past stops.
Yeah, we'll do some stuff under center. How much we do under center kind of just depends on the personnel of the team. Sometimes I've done it a little bit more than at other times. My first year at Baylor, we had a quarterback that was good at it, and it fit our running backs, and so we did quite a bit under center. The last couple of years, done a little bit less. When I was at BYU early, first starting quarterback I had, we did quite a bit of it. When Zach Wilson became our quarterback, we still did some, but we did less of it. And I think it's, like a lot of things, it's a piece of what we do, but just another piece.
Is that your evaluation, or do you ask their input? Do you like this? Are you comfortable with this? Is that questions you ask them?
I would say both.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my decision.
Sure.
But I do ask their input, and sometimes I take it into consideration.
Hey, Coach, Jared Casey, I don't know how many tight ends you've had in your systems over years that are his dimensions. What have you watched and seen from him?
I don't know what you mean by that, his dimensions.
Well, how many tight ends have you had that are 6 feet?
Oh, okay. He's 6 feet? Wow. That's
close
being
to
generous.
It is.
Or close to it.
First, I love this kid. I mean, just what a great attitude. I mean, I honestly haven't seen one thing from him yet that I wasn't impressed with. I've had a couple at several different stops. Had one almost exactly like him at BYU. Had one that we played with some at Baylor, not as much as what we'll have here. But I think the nice thing about our system is that it's versatile enough that you can use players in different spots. And so he's not necessarily a guy that's going to do some things that other guys might do. For instance, a guy that's like Deshaun or Trevor Cardell, a guy like that is going to match up a little bit better with his hand in the dirt on the line of scrimmage, playing next to an offensive tackle. He also might be a little bit more comfortable split out as the single receiver into the boundary if you're looking for a one-on-one matchup right there. But then there are some other really cool things that he does that none of those other guys can do. Playing fullback, playing in wing alignments, and then a really impressive athlete for a guy like that. And so I've had some others like him, but I don't know if I've had one as good as he is. I'm really looking forward to using him. Anything else?